So Joan Laporta has been talking about the potential Julian Alvarez deal and the likeliness of it happening. And basically, in this recent interview that he made quite a surprising statement during this interview that he mentioned. And he was talking about the potential alternatives to Julian Alvarez, which has definitely caught the eye of many of us Barcelona fans, and we're gonna get into all of it, guys. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to Omar Talks Barca. And ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned, right now there's a lot of things that are happening. Obviously, there's a big game tomorrow between Spain and Argentina, the World Cup final, which as a Barca fan is definitely something that we're all looking forward to because of the big stories going into this game. But one person that will be in the game is Joan Laporta. He will be at the stadium. He will be watching this game live. And we know that he's currently in New York for that. But even despite all that, he did take time to speak to the media about a lot of things. And one of the big things that they did ask him, unsurprisingly, was with the Julian Alvarez deal. And basically, he went into very long detail and he was very, very much straightforward in this. But there was definitely quite some surprise statements that he mentioned through this. And ladies and gentlemen, it was definitely something that we're going to get into. And this was the direct quote that he actually mentioned when he was asked about the Julian Alvarez deal and far as, the potential of it happening. And this is basically what he responded with. He said, "We have made a significant offer. If they're willing to accept it, fantastic, but it won't be unlimited. We have to make a decision. Whether we maintain the offer or not depends on how these last 2 weeks of July unfold." He basically continued by saying the player has spoken out and that's why the issue is still open. It's clear that the player wants a change of scenery and we are prepared to welcome him and we will see how it unfolds. And he mentioned also about Deco. He said that Deco has been doing a great job. He brought in Adeyemi, whom we will sign next week. He's working very efficiently and discreetly and it should be done. Obviously, if the Julian Alvarez deal falls through, we have alternatives. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, was quite a surprise when he mentioned about the alternatives. And basically, before we even talk about the potential alternatives, let's actually break down a lot of the things he mentioned in this interview, right? That statement alone, right? He did mention obviously about, the situation with Atletico Madrid and how stubborn they've been. Now, this is quite interesting because yesterday, the Atletico Madrid president, Enrique Cerezo, sorry if I butchered it, but basically he came out and he basically stood firm on what he's been saying or what Atletico Madrid have been saying for the past 2 months, right? Basically that the player is now for sale, that they're not selling him for any amount. Now, basically they're just saying he is not available and they will not sell him for any price, which, at the end of the day, make of that what you will. But as far as is concerned, they basically just said that they've even gone as far as saying that they will not even accept anything. They won't even accept 200 million from a lot of what the people have been saying. But it's quite interesting that Laporta would say this. It's considering this is what the Atletico Madrid president said. But it's quite interesting because it makes you wonder as a Barca fan, right, where exactly this deal is going. The fact that now he's talking about the potential of alternatives, it doesn't really give a lot of Barca fans like me a lot of confidence, right? Because you're starting to wonder, are we going farther away from this deal than we thought? Because, we had a lot of confidence that we could get this deal done, especially after Julian Alvarez himself came out and basically said what he said. We thought that the deal was through. But now, I don't know if that's the case right now. Barcelona have remained tight-lipped, right? We're still negotiating with Atletico Madrid. But the fact that now, Laporta has openly come out and mentioned the term of alternatives tells me that this deal is not moving as smoothly as they thought it was. And maybe this deal could be more complicated. We're going to definitely have to watch this space as far as that is concerned. But as far as alternatives is concerned, look, I don't really know who the alternatives are. right, we could basically put some guesses of who the alternatives might be. The players who I don't think they are, I don't think, first of all, I don't think it's Haaland or Harry Kane. I don't think it's either of those guys. First of all, Holland is very expensive. Like that is very nigh on basically impossible to get. Right. And Harry Kane, we inquired about Harry Kane a few weeks ago, and Bayern Munich have basically shut the door on any potential of it happening. Now, the big question is, who could be the other alternatives? Now, there's a few names that have been pulled out there in the past few months, right? Now, one of the big ones they've been mentioning is obviously Joao Pedro. We know that Barcelona, we were looking at bringing in Joao Pedro potentially, right? We don't, at the end of the day, maybe Barcelona could go back in for him. Who knows? Another option could be Victor Osimhen, right? We know right now he is at Galatasaray, right? Very, very proven goal scorer. Has a few issues of his own, but he's definitely proven, as far as goal scoring is concerned. Now, another player that recently has been, there's been some murmurings about him, has been Dusan Vlahovic. Now, personally, for me, this would be a terrible idea, right? I am not for this deal. Absolutely not, right? I don't think this is going to be a good deal. I think this guy, he's basically Ferran Torres 2.0, right? For me, I don't think he's good enough in my personal opinion. And basically, we don't really know a lot of the other options, alternatives wise, right? But I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below which other players that you guys think potentially it could be. Now, for me, this is quite an interesting one, like I mentioned, right? I don't really know, where this is going. And, we're hearing about, obviously, the fact that PSG are also interested in bringing in Ferran Torres, which basically, if we do sell Ferran before we even get a striker, then that means that the striker now is an absolute must. But I must reiterate, right? When it comes to this Julian Alvarez deal, it's not dead in the water yet, right? I think that right now it might be moving a little bit more complicated, right? And it's going to be very interesting because obviously tomorrow is the final. And after it, right, club football is back. Players will be back to training and preseason. It's going to be interesting to see what Julian Alvarez does when he returns back to Atletico Madrid. Will he return back to training? Will he go on strike? Those are all alternatives and things that we should be keeping our eye on. So it's still a lot of stuff to talk about. But as far as, players are concerned, it's going to be quite an interesting one. I don't really know, the other alternatives, but we will see what happens. But listen, you guys let me know, what do you guys think about everything that Laporta said? What do you guys think about what he mentioned about, Deco's work? What do you guys think about, what he mentioned about the alternatives point, right? And which players out there, guys, do you guys see right now who you're thinking might be some good options in your personal opinion, guys? Let me know, guys, in the comment section below. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, all of the beautiful stuff. And goodbye. Take care, you guys.